Srimate Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tatalaya Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namaha Mukham Karoti Vachalam Pangum Lanketi Kirim Yat Kripatamaham Madhe Shri Guru Dinataranam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Hari Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna, welcome everybody to today evening's Bhagavad Gita class. So last class we finished with the 4th chapter. So we will just summarize. We saw in the previous class. So this 5th chapter is actually called Karma Yoga or action in Krishna consciousness. So the 4th chapter was, what did we see in the 4th chapter? Transcendental knowledge. Okay. So it was more about Jnana Yoga. So we saw in the previous class the example that when you tell a child don't do any nonsense things, then you will have to actually replace that child's activity with some useful activity, because a soul always engages in activity. It cannot remain without activity. That is the characteristic of a soul. So even if you see an ant moving like this, right, and you place a paper and obstruct the movement of the ant, it will not surpass that and go. It will try to go in some other direction. So you cannot stop the activity of any living entity. It can be an ant or a grasshopper or any living being. The activity cannot be stopped or checked. It can only be, it can only be diverted in a different path. So like that, they can never be sannyasa or complete renunciation of work. So that we will be seeing in this chapter. In chapter 4, the Lord spoke about karma, vikarma, akarma. Then he spoke about different types of sacrifices. Okay, so then we saw that why should sacrifices be done and how do we develop faith in the Lord and in the scriptures. So Arjuna is confused. So first the Lord is telling, be sthita prajna, be fixed in consciousness. We saw now how he told how the tortoise withdraws its limbs. Like that, you also withdraw your limbs and be fixed in Krishna consciousness. Then he says, do nishkama karma yoga. Then in the 4th chapter, he is telling, do jnana yoga. That means transcendental knowledge. So think, what is jnana yoga actually? Yeah, so we saw, right, actually, about what the soul is, what Paramatma is, and what is the relationship between Atma and Paramatma. Okay, so now because Krishna is telling about sannyas yoga also, about jnana yoga and karma yoga, they are two different things. So karma yoga is where you do activity actually, but jnana yoga, there is no activity at all except for knowledge accumulation. So both are completely different. So now Arjuna is getting confused in the battlefield. Krishna in the 2nd chapter you told be in fixed consciousness. 3rd chapter you said do nishkama karma yoga. In 4th chapter you're telling do jnana yoga. So karma yoga and jnana yoga are totally different. So what is it that I should exactly do? See, actually Arjuna is already an elevated devotee. The reason he is asking is for our own benefit. Okay, so in chapter 5, Lord Krishna emphasizes on one main theme about how working in Krishna consciousness is superior to dry speculation and artificial renunciation. So better than renouncing everything and going and sitting in the forest, giving up family and everything, it is better to act in Krishna consciousness. So Krishna establishes in the chapter, in 5th chapter, that working in Krishna consciousness is more superior than even sannyasa, than even renunciation. So we will see what it is about. So actually in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Rishabhadev is an incarnation of the Lord. So he says, Nunam pramata kurute vikarma yadindriya priyatar pranoti. So when a person considers sense gratification the arm of life, he certainly becomes mad after materialistic living and engages in all kinds of sinful activities. So when you want to gratify your senses or please your senses, then you, whatever cost it takes, you want to gratify your senses. What may, you want to fulfill your sensual pleasures. So he does not have anything else. All he wants to do is gratify his senses. So actually the living entity should not have taken a material body, but he has been awarded the material body for sense gratification, because we had that never-ending desire to enjoy apart from Krishna. So Krishna gives us this body to fulfill that desire. So just like how a child keeps crying for chocolate, and the mother says, no, you have cold, then the child keeps crying. So mother thinks that, okay, if she cries even more, she will fall sick and gives the chocolate. Like that, we kept crying that we want to enjoy apart from Krishna. So what the Lord does, okay, like being a loving parent, he doesn't want to disregard our desire. So he says, okay, you want to enjoy apart from me, so you take this human form of life and fulfill all your desires, and then you come back to me, like that. Okay, so actually animal's body is meant for sense gratification, not the human body. Human body is meant for self-control and self-realization. Okay, so they say, no, atato brahma jignasa. So it is to inquire who am I? Who is the Lord? What is the connection between me and the Lord? And how do I go back to Him? How do I re-establish the lost relationship? So we are servants, and Krishna is the master. And what is the relationship between us? That of a master and a servant. And how do I? That is our Golok Vrindavan is our eternal abode. Just like where Krishna is, we are parts and parcels of the Lord. We are supposed to be with Him, but because of our desire to enjoy apart from Him, we are here. Okay, so animals only do sense gratification, but now we are also behaving like animals. Like humans also try to do full sense gratification. Okay, so you see, right? Animals cannot control their senses at all. If you see in the night, you will see a pack of dogs, maybe 11, 12 dogs, who are chasing after a female dog just for sexual pleasure, and there will be so much of noise. Okay, so that is the characteristic of animals, but humans are not like that. They get married to one spouse, one woman, and live a happy life with her, and then do self-realization. Think about the higher truth. Inquire about the higher truth. Okay, so humans can restrain their senses. At the same time, they can use their sense. Restrain means control your senses, and use their senses to please the Lord. You can use their senses to serve the Lord. Okay, so animals' body is like that of a car, and our bodies are like that of a aeroplane. If you see, both, there's a runway. You know what a runway is, no? Where the plane actually goes and then finally takes off. So animal's body, animal's body is like that of a car. Can it fly? No, but our body is like that of an aeroplane. For some time we are on the same level, but we have the potency to fly, transcend the three modes of material nature, and go back home to Godhead. So that is the difference between us. But for that, what we have to do, we have to give up our urges to gratify our senses and have sense restraint, control our senses, and then use our senses to please the Lord. Only then we can transcend the three modes of material nature and board the flight to Golok Vrindavan. Okay, so dry speculators. What are speculators actually? What is the meaning of speculation? Simply thinking, right, without any meaning. Dry speculation means, see, if you think about something and you're going to execute that and it happens, there's some fruit out of it, then it works. But simply thinking, and there is no output out of it, that is dry speculation. Okay, so dry speculators think that if I give up everything and go to Himalayas, then I will not incur any sin. Because Krishna told, no, see, whatever activity you do, you're going to get sin. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So whatever activity I do, I'm going to get result for that. Okay, so this dry speculators, they think that if I do an activity, I'm going to get sin. I'm going to get a reaction. So might as well I go to some mountain or forest, I renounce all my activities, and I just meditate like this. Then I will not get any reaction. Will that work? No. Still you're breathing, right? Each time you're breathing, you're inhaling so many germs, bacteria, they're getting killed in the process. So when he walks from one place to the other, he has to attend nature's call, right? So when he walks from one place to the other, he might step on ants and kill them. Even then he is performing karmic actions, and he will get the reaction for that. Krishna says that better than dry speculation and doing meditation like that is to engage your senses in performing activities for the pleasure of me, like that. Okay, so that thing what we told, no, like, and even if you do meditation and you think that I will only survive doing meditation, you will incur reactions because of the activities that you do, like panchasuna. That's called panchasuna. You might harm microorganisms, you might step on animals and still accumulate reactions. So 99.9% of the people, right, they don't want to take the shrama of going to, if I tell you in this crowd, raise your hands, and who wants to renounce and go back to Himalayas or the forest and do meditation, leave your mother, father, brother, sister, husband, wife, and then you can go back to Godhead. Will you believe? Is there anybody who will agree to that? No. 99.9% of the population does not have that, what do you say, they cannot take that much of an effort. Krishna is telling, I'm giving you an easier process. All you need to do is you do activity, because the soul's natural condition is to remain active. You can perform all your activities, but you devote those activities to me. Do it as a do it for my pleasure, and when you get the result of those activities, do not expect any result. Do that, offer that result also to him only. Then all your activities become Krishnized, it becomes sanctified, it becomes pure. Then you will not get any reactions for all the activity that you do. So when you do all the activities and you do not expect reactions, but you do the activities for the pleasure of the Lord. And how do you do that activities? You put 100% endeavor. It's just that I don't get the result, so I will not put endeavor. A real devotee puts his complete endeavor, put 100% endeavor, and do it with full heart and faith and complete the activity successfully, but he does not expect the result. So he is not entangled into the cycle of birth, old age, disease and death. So it is this verse in Tamil, it says that Punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, punarapi janani, jatare shayanam. That means again and again you're taking birth. So what does the soul do? Punarapi jananam, takes birth again, punarapi maranam, it dies again, and then it becomes a soul and lies in the womb of another woman's body. This is like an endless cycle. O Kripaya Pare Pahi Murare, O compassionate Lord Krishna, please deliver us. So we are praying, please deliver us, please deliver us. But what is he telling in the Bhagavad Gita? I will deliver you if you do all the activities as an offering to me. You do it wholeheartedly and execute it completely, properly, with full faith, and offer the results to me, then I will deliver you from the cycle of birth, old age, disease and death. So we cannot renounce completely. So vairagya, have you heard the word vairagya? So like, vairagya means renunciation and jnana means knowledge. So actually vairagya, we cannot renounce completely or go to the forest and all that. Even if we do that, no, it's called markata vairagya. Do you know what markata vairagya is? Markata vairagya is that of a monkey. So what does a monkey do in a forest? It is actually on a tree, okay? It's also living in a forest like a sage, like a renunciant. It's naked. It does not wear any clothes like a sage, okay? It lives on trees and nuts, leaves and nuts and fruits, just like a sage, whatever is available in the forest, okay? And it's very thin, jumping from one tree to the other. But what does it do? It is attracted to the opposite sex monkey and it starts mating and it jumps from one tree to the other. So even though it fakes to renunciate, but it's not actually a renunciant because it keeps jumping from one tree to the other. So even if we try to do renunciation, it is not actual renunciation. It's called Falgu Vairagya or Markata Vairagya. That means it's artificial renunciation. So a sage who's actually pretending to meditate, he would have controlled his desires, but he has all the desires actually underlying. So if he's agitated by any other opposite sex, then immediately he will give in to it. Okay, it's not real Krishna consciousness. So Krishna is telling, rather than engaging in something like that, pretending to meditate and controlling your desires, but you actually have so many desires that you have suppressed. Okay, so then you would have seen many examples in the scriptures, right? Vishwamitra Muni being allured. Okay, so many munis are actually allured like that. Okay, because they have done Markata Vairagya. So Krishna is telling, more than that, the superior path is to do Nishkama Karma Yoga. Engage in devotional service. Do all your activities as an offering to me, and then you will be delivered. Okay, so see, everybody, right? Like all the living entities, elephant eats like 200 pounds of food. An ant might eat 2 grams of food. Okay, so pigeon, if you would have seen in the morning and all, any leftover grains, if you put whatever is put, it consumes that and goes. Okay, but only human beings, right? All of them eat whatever is required for them. Okay, but human beings, they will not accumulate. So this much is over and I will accumulate and keep. But only human beings have the habit of accumulating. Okay, I had this much, let me store this for tomorrow, let me store this for day after tomorrow, let me store these grains. None of the other living entities have the habit of accumulating. Not the elephant, not the any arboreal, aquatic, none of the animals have the habit of accumulating. But we are worse than animals also. We have this, whatever is not our portion, that also we want to take. In Isopanishad it says that, no, Isha Vasim Idam Sarvam Yat Kinchit Jagatyam Jagat. So Tena Daktena Punchida Ma Kaschit Kasya Svardhanam. That means like whatever is your quota, only that you should take. Beyond that, you should not even take because it belongs to the Lord. So even that we are not able to renunciate. So then what are we talking about? Actual renunciation. So this chapter, Krishna will be telling how this process of Nishkama Karma Yoga is even greater than Sannyasa Yoga. Okay. Chapter 5, 5.1. Arjuna Vacha Sannyasam Karmanam Krishna Punaryogam cha samsasi Yachreya Yatayorekam Tanme Bruhi Sunishchitam. Any Prabhuji can read the translation.
Arjuna said, "O Krishna, first of all, you ask me to renounce work, and then again you recommend work with devotion. Now, will you kindly tell me definitely which of the two is more beneficial?"
Yeah. So actually, Oh Krishna, first of all, you asked me to renounce the work. In chapter 2, Krishna tells Arjuna, renounce all your work, okay? And then in the third chapter, again, he tells, work with devotion, do Nishkama Karma Yoga. Then in fourth chapter, he spoke about Jnana Yoga. So now Arjuna is asking Krishna, should I focus on Jnana Yoga or should I focus on Karma Yoga? I'm stuck. I'm not able to differentiate between both the things. Now Krishna is going to recommend to Arjuna what he should do. So Krishna recommends the spirit of renunciation in work. He's telling you don't need to renounce the work, but you do the work and you renounce the results of the work. You do the work properly, but you can have the spirit of renunciation. You complete the work, but you're not attached to the result. So that is sannyasa in karma. Sannyasa means renunciation, and in karma means work. So renunciation in work. Both are not different, Arjuna. Don't get confused. You can do your work. Activity is very important. The character of a jiva is to act. It's not to remain inert. Even for a minute, even if you go to Brahmajyoti, right, it cannot remain inactive. It will be dropped down. It requires constant activity. So you do activity, but you renounce the results of your actions. Okay. So actually, Arjuna is going to two extremes. We saw in the pendulum, right? The previous example. Does anybody remember? Yeah, so one side we saw bogies who love to enjoy, okay? Because of enjoying, they get frustrated, and that they become tyagis. Tyagis means complete renunciation. So a pendulum, it oscillates from point A to point B. So one is bogi who enjoys completely 24/7. He wants to do sense gratification, and after getting frustrated after doing sense gratification, it goes to point B. That is a tyagi. He gets frustrated and he wants to he wants to stop sense gratification and he wants to take up renunciation. Both are bad. Center. A devotee remains in the center. He acts, but he renounces the fruits or results of his activity. So, see, example, we don't need to renounce anything. See, the time that we are using now this Saturday, 5:30 to 7:30, you could have gone to meet your friend to a mall. You could have gone to some pub bar to do some activity, but we are engaging that in Krishna Katha, right? Same way, this phone, he could have used it to see some serials, Netflix, okay, Prime, like that. Or he could have, I mean, he's actually using it in recording Prabhupada's whatever, yeah, okay. So it's based on, see, activity remains the same, but the intention, you're using the phone, even that you're using the phone, even this you're using the phone, but the intention with what you're using is different, okay. So people use electric. See, Krishna has so many energies, you know, he has internal energy, external energy. As we go, we will see Krishna has internal energy. His internal energy is Haladini Shakti or Srimati Radharani. He has external energies, and jivas, we jivas are Tatastha Shakti. We are marginal potency. Okay. So, like that, he also has like light, heat, all these come from Krishna. See, for example, electricity is used in electrical toothbrushes. Okay. Electricity is used in electrical vacuum cleaners. So electricity is used in this, like, what do you say, nice headphone you charge, and then you have to, only by charging you can use it, right? To hear nice cinema songs, okay, whatever. But see, this electricity is used in all these ways for sense gratification. But the same electricity can be used to light up temples in the form of lamps, okay, to amplify the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. If you go in ISKCON temples, Hare Krishna, constantly Prabhupada just amplified. Everywhere you can hear, right? So the same electricity is engaged in Krishna consciousness here. So our duty as human beings is to engage all the energies that Krishna has bestowed us in his own service. Okay. So see, for example, in a garden, right, we see full bloomed flowers, okay, ripe mangoes. So all these are nature's gratitude to offer it to Krishna. So nature produces freshly blossomed flowers as an offering to Krishna, as a gratitude to Krishna. Ripe mangoes for the sake of Krishna. So when nature is doing so much, then what should we do? Even oceans produce navaratnas to adorn Krishna's body with lots of ornaments. So see, he is the master, he is the proprietor, and he is the controller. Just imagine if a maid is coming in your house, working in your house, and she starts using your jewelry, and she starts using your saris. Will you allow? Maid is in maid's position, right? That is our position. So all these are for Krishna's pleasure, to satisfy his senses. We are doing the maid job here. We should be very proud in doing the maid job. We're Krishna's maids. Okay. So it's totally, what do you say, sinful to take those things for ourselves without offering them to Krishna. Only when it is offered to Krishna, then it is sanctioned, it is purified, it is sanctified. Okay. otherwise it is not sanctified. We are just stealing Krishna's properties. Okay, so we as living entities are also children of Krishna, and we have to use these gifts in the Lord's service to get benefited from them. Only when we use these gifts as service in the service of the Lord do we get benefited from them. See, jnanis, they renounce the world and they live in the mountains and in the forests, okay? And they do analytical study. So I don't know how many of you attend Bhagavatam. So they study, yeah, so they study Sankhya philosophy. So they are called Sankhyaites. What is the Sankhya philosophy? Does anybody know? Yeah, matter and soul. Yeah, okay, so it is a, we are studying, it's a dissecting and studying what is body, what is soul, okay, what is the difference between both. Okay, so these jnanis, no, jnanis are people like people who accumulate knowledge. Okay, so they have this naiti. We'll see what naiti means. Okay, naiti process. Naiti means na iti means I am not the body, I am the soul, I am not the mind, I am not the intelligence, I am not the ego. Then what am I? So they keep analyzing like this. Okay, I am the spirit soul, I am not the material body. So that is na iti naiti process. Okay, so so they understood that I am aham brahmasmi. That means I am part and parcel of Krishna. So then they also understand that soul is different from the body. Okay, and body is very temporary and soul is something that is permanent. So this is the this is what the analysis of Sankhyaites or people who study Sankhya philosophy or jnanis, that's what they do. Okay, so what do? No, they analyze like different elements. This everything is made of elements. No, you know, you've studied right, atoms, molecules and all that. Likewise, even our body is made of Panchamahabhut: earth, air, water, fire and ether. Okay, so and then 3 subtle elements. Okay, mind, intelligence and ego. 5 tanmatras: Shabda, Sparsha, Gandha, Rasa and Rupa. 5 knowledge acquiring senses. They are eyes, ears, nose, tongue and skin. And 5 karmendriyas or working senses. Okay, so they are hands, legs, genitals, rectum and speech. So in this way, what we are talking about whom? Jnanis or Sankhyites. Okay, these we are now we are talking about Sankhyites. So they try to understand every element, they dissect. So there are 24 elements. So they saw first that Panchamahabhut, earth, water, fire, ether, and 3 subtle elements: mind, intelligence, ego, working senses, knowledge acquiring senses, and tanmatras, 5. So in total they come to 24. So then they come to the right conclusion: oh, all of this is coming from Krishna, so he is the provider of everything. Okay, so there are some people who jnanis who dissect and understand all these things. They think that where are these elements coming from? They still don't realize that it's coming from Krishna. Okay, so see, for example, there is a puppet. You know puppets, no? They are, I mean, what do you say? Let down by strings, and the children, actually, it will be like as if some doll is moving on its own. So the child sees the puppet and asks the mother, "So, Mama, is this puppet moving on its own?" So then the mama says, "No, it's actually somebody is controlling it from above." So we are also like that. We are just puppets. We are controlled above by Krishna, Supreme Personality of Godhead. Okay, so nothing can happen on our own. Krishna says that even a blade of grass will not move without his will. So we cannot, I mean, renounce anything. Okay, so when we have perfect, so bhaktas, no, we saw what jnanis are. So these are jnanis are trying to constantly analyze in terms of 5 elements, working senses, knowledge acquiring senses, okay, and Panchamahabhutas, all of these things. But Bhakti yogis, they actually have proper knowledge. They have, what is the perfect knowledge? The first one is, I am not the material body, I am the soul, I am a part and parcel of Krishna. Second one is, I want to render service to him. Third one is, I will work in a detached spirit. So what are the 3? I am not the body, I am the soul, part and parcel of Krishna. Second one is, I want to render service to him. And third one is, I will work in a detached spirit. So we act like sannyasis, but we are actually bhakti yogis. Okay. So what detached spirit means? What actually? Yeah. Okay. So actually, see example. Usually, you know, like have you seen a lot of ISKCON devotees doing book distribution? So some of them materials people will go and ask, so how much commission you're getting for one book? Say no commission and all. I'm doing it as a service for my Guru Maharaj, right? So that is detached spirit. You're serving the Lord. It's a very simple example. Okay, same way. See in ISKCON Pune temple, right? It seems every Sunday morning, one director of a college will come and wash all the plates. So his position in the college is of that of a superior. But here he is completely becoming submissive and doing service to the Lord. Completely detached spirit. He knows that all these three things: I am not the body, I am the soul, I am parcel and parcel of Krishna, and my duty is to serve the Lord, and I will work in a detached spirit. Okay. So likewise, whatever you can see, many big businessmen going to this temple, they will be rolling mats, they will be sweeping, mopping, all their possessions, everything they leave aside, and they serve the Lord. They only aim for everybody inside a temple is to please the Lord. Okay, so all are doing Krishnarthi Akhila Cheshta, doing everything as a service to the Lord to please the Lord. So similarly, Krishna is telling Arjuna, you fight not for your own pleasure, but you fight to serve me, fight as a service to me, like that. Okay, so and offer the results of that fight to me. Amritatvam, then it becomes nectarian. Okay, so when you fight, you do your activity, you offer the results to me, then you're not entangled to the cycle of birth, old age, disease, and death. And I'm assuring you, whatever result you get, that will be amritvam. That means it will be nectarian. Okay, see, also, who is a Nishkama Karma Yogi? See, a gardener in a king's palace, right? So he starts planting many things, right? So the land is not his. This garden is in the king's palace. The gardener is planting many things, but the land is not his. The soil is not his. The seeds are given by the king. Water is given by Krishna. So just imagine all the fresh flowers that comes, he cuts and takes it home every day and goes. Will the king allow? No. Okay. So actually, what a Nishkama Karmi. So what does the gardener do actually? He puts all his efforts. He waters the water that Krishna is giving, with the seeds that the king is giving. He sows them. He waters them. He does all the activity, and the results he offers it back to the king. Only then he can stay in that garden, okay, and continue his activity. So as long, we should also realize that we are also like those servants. So whatever Krishna gives to us, we should engage it in his service and give it back to him. That is the gift of our life, is the gift what we are giving to Krishna is what we are giving back to him. He has given us everything. There is nothing that is ours. Just imagine. See, when we come to the world, right, we come as a baby, completely naked, nothing at all we have with us. Okay, so what is there for us to renounce? Okay, if I say I want to renounce, only if I have something, if something is in my possession, only then I can renounce that. But when you've come with nothing and you're going to go with nothing, okay, when you go, you're not going to take your property, your deed, sale deed, your degrees, nothing you're going to take. You're going to leave behind everything here. So then what are you going to renounce? See, suppose I come to your house, Mataji. I come to your house and I'll say, Mataji, I'm renouncing your car. Can I renounce your car? No. I come to your house and I'll say, I'm renouncing your computer degree. I have not earned it. Then how can I renounce it? So like that, if you will say, Mataji, are you mad? Car is mine and you want to renounce it, you will tell, right? Like that only, in this world, nothing is ours. Everything belongs to Krishna, including the body, mind, intelligence, ego, everything belongs to Krishna. And how can we say we want to renounce? Only if something is in our possession can we renounce it. Everything belongs to Krishna. Everything belongs to Krishna. Then how can we renounce it? Okay. So Krishna tries to explain this. Can anybody tell me one thing we have to renounce is the imagination that everything belongs to me. If we are thinking, no, I am the owner of this, I am the proprietor of this, I am the enjoyer. So that dirty imagination we should actually renounce, and we should come to the reality that Krishna is the enjoyer, Krishna is the proprietor, and Krishna is the controller. So this is actually what a Nishkama Karma Yogi does. Okay. So if you ask a pure devotee, right, who are you? If you ask him, he will say, I am a servant of the Lord. See, like how Hanuman said, no, Dasoham Kaushalendrasya. That means, he didn't say I am Hanuman, I am the strongest person, I am Vayuputra. He says that Dasoham Kaushalendrasya. I am the servant of son of Kaushalya. That is Lord Rama. Okay. Second question, if you ask him what work you do, if you ask me, I'll say I'm an architect, I'll try to show off, right? But if you ask a pure devotee what work you do, they'll say, I do the work whatever Lord has allotted to me. Okay. And then how do you work? How do you work? It's not like in 12 hours of work, 2 hours I will just go by the coffee thing and then have some coffee, some snacks, I'll do some gossip here, and remaining 3-4 hours I will try to do some work and get the money for 6 hours. It's not like that. How do you work? A pure devotee works hard with sincerity, dedication, and to the best of his ability. See, just because the results are not in our hand, it doesn't mean we work however we want. We are representatives of the Lord. So we have to work sincerely to the best of our capacity. And what do you do with the results? He says that I hand it to the Lord because He gave me the senses, He gave me the brains, He gave me everything else. Okay, so what is it? Who are you? I am the servant of the Lord. And what work do you do? Whatever work Krishna has assigned to me. And how do you work? Dedication and to the best of my capability. And what do you do with the results? Yeah, offer it to Krishna because everything belongs to him. So this is the mood of a Nishkama Karma Yogi. Okay, so what we have to remember, these are very nice points written by Prabhupada. We have to eliminate the feeling of I did it, I am the doer. We have this thing, even I in a day, I use so many times I. Okay, so we have to eliminate the feeling that I did it. Okay, I am the doer, and we cannot do anything on our own. Okay, see, even if I have to learn this in the morning, fifth chapter, a few verses, and then come and tell you, I need to remember, no, whatever I have read throughout the day, and then come and tell you that memory also comes from Krishna. So Krishna says, no, sarvasya saham hridi sannivishto mata smriti jnana mapohanam cha. Both remembrance and forgetfulness comes from Krishna. A simple work like this, everything comes from Krishna. Even a blade of grass cannot move without Krishna's will. So nothing happens without Krishna's sanction. So where are we the doers? We are not the doers. We are just the enjoyers. Okay. So there are many uncertainties in the world. Padam padam yat vipadam. Every step there is danger. Between every step there is danger. Okay. We have to eliminate false ego and sense of doership. I did it. It is mine. I, me, myself. We have to try to. What is false ego? Ahankara. Anything that has got to do with me, I, me, myself, that is false ego. So we have to eliminate that, get rid of that selfishness and start becoming selfless, because we are claiming ourselves to be devotees of the Lord. Okay. So we should not take any credit for the work that we do. So any credit, it has to be passed on to the spiritual master or to the Lord. Anybody glorifies you. Prabhuji did so many services. All glories to Gurudev. You can humbly accept it and pass it on to the spiritual master. Don't take credit, because without the sanction of the Guru and the Lord, we will not be. They empower us. We will not be able to do any service. So anytime anybody gives you a service, and if it is Krishna conscious, if it is pleasing the spiritual master or Krishna, automatically spiritual master empowers you with the required intelligence and strength to complete that service. It is not you put little bit effort, but they're already empowering you with all that is required to complete that service. So that sense of doership should be completely eliminated. I, me, myself, throw it into the garbage. We have to pass on the credit to Krishna. Okay, so we have to humbly surrender unto the servant of the Lord and to the Lord. See, for example, when we have baby tooth, right? Even now, like Divya has milk tooth, right? One by one, it's falling off. I don't keep opening her mouth every day and seeing when it's getting transformed into permanent tooth. It's happening on its own, no? How I claim myself to be a mother, but I don't do anything like a mother. It's changing on its own. Milk tooth. Just imagine one small thing I mentioned. Likewise, Krishna is taking care of everything in everybody's life. He is the doer. We cannot claim to be the doer for anything. Okay. So then why do we do Nishkama Karma Yoga? For Chitta Shuddhi, for purification of the senses. Purification means, see, for millions of years we've been in this body, right? Same body. Previous life I would have been an earthworm and I would have come across with a devotee. So I've become a human being now. Before that I would have been some snake. Many lifetimes I don't even realize who I was. So many times this ego was there in me. I am the enjoyer. I am the controller. I am the proprietor. That's why I'm still alive here. So imagine lifetime over lifetime over lifetime, it's mapping. It's become so thick. I, me, myself. So that has to become purified. Chitta Shuddhi has to happen. Okay. So that it completely gets purified. Sense of enjoyership, doership, and ownership should be destroyed. Okay. So not indispensable. Indispensable means I cannot be replaced by anybody. We feel like that, no? Oh, I can't. Nobody can do kirtan like me. I am the best kirtanier. Nobody can take class like me. I am the best person. Nobody can do service like me. We have that sometimes creep in, right? So that is, we have to remove that. Nobody is indispensable. So today I'm taking class, next Saturday something might happen to me and Mahasaka Prabhu might take class. Okay, so no service. It's it isn't like if this person has to do the service only. Krishna has thousands of hands. He's just chosen you because you had the choice to serve him. So the minute you start thinking I, me, myself, then that will also go off. You have to keep thinking that I'm just an instrument of help in Krishna's hands. I'm not the doer. I'm just an instrument of help in Krishna's hands. Okay, and the last point, but most important, is any help done by us to any devotee should be forgotten as soon as possible. You should always forget the help that you are giving a devotee and never forget the help that you're getting from a devotee. Two very important things. Whatever help you're doing to others, forget immediately. Because you will, that I, me, myself, it will be like you're fueling it. And whatever help you get from others, always remember it and show gratefulness because they are also parts and parcels of the Lord. Okay. So Nishkama Karma Yoga strengthens our knowledge about Atma, Paramatma, and relationship with the both. And then you get, Arjuna says to Krishna says to Arjuna that you didn't do Nishkama Karma Yoga, and eventually in that itself you will start getting liberated because you're dedicating all your actions to me and your results will be completely sanctified. Okay, so one should keep the spirit of Sthita Prajna, but externally he should do the activity. Means do the activity, but inside you should have the spirit of renunciation. You know, Vrajvasis, right? Gopis, they were doing so many activities. So they used to churn butter, they used to feed their kids, okay, they used to feed their husbands. But during the entire process of all the activities, what were they doing? As they churned butter, they were singing the holy names of the Lord. They were chanting about the Kirtanam. They were singing about the pastimes of the Lord. Okay. And because of when you keep talking about something, you start remembering about the thing, right? So when you keep talking about some person that you like, you start remembering of them so frequently. So as the gopis were churning butter and they were doing kirtan of the Lord, they started remembering him. They started doing kirtanam and eventually what followed? Smaranam of the Lord. So actually inside the spirit of renunciation was there, but outside they were actually doing their duties. So we also should do like that. So do the duties but have the spirit of renunciation inside. Okay, so by doing this, what happens? Dehinosmin yata dehe kaumaram yauvanam jara tata dehantara prapta dhirastratrana muhyati. That means the spirit soul passes from the body of from a boyhood to youth to old age. And a clever person, an intelligent person, does not, he knows that eventually it will pass into another body. So likewise, dehinosmin yata dehe, this bond will be cut by renouncing all your results of action. You just do the activity for the pleasure of the Lord. Okay, so Krishna actually is glorifying both Jnana Yoga and Karma Yoga. So Krishna says that now Arjuna is confused. Karma Yoga is completely opposite. You're doing activity, and Jnana Yoga is complete renunciation. Both are opposite, right? Renunciation means you are sitting in one place meditating, closing your eyes, you're not doing any activity. So, and Karma Yoga is actually doing activity. I'm talking, I'm combing my kids' hair, I'm doing some activity constantly. So, one is a state of activity and one is a state of stillness. Okay, both are opposite to each other. So, Arjuna is getting confused and telling Krishna which is better. So, Krishna is telling you're confused because you're thinking both are different, but both are not different. Both are actually the same. So, you act in a renounced word. You do the activity, but you act with a renounced spirit. Okay, the spirit inside should be that I'm not attached to the activity, but you're actually performing the activity. Okay, now we'll read 5.2. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Sannyasa Karma Yogascha Nishreyasa Karvabu Tayostu Karma Sannyasat Karma Yogo Vishishyate. Any Mataji can read the translation.
The personality of Godhead requiring the renunciation of work and work in devotion are both good for liberation, but of the two, work in devotional service is better than renunciation.
See, now this Krishna himself is telling better than renunciation is to work in devotional service. Devotional service means with the attitude that I do all my activities, all my day-to-day activities. For example, when I wake up in the morning, I don't wake up to just take care of my kids or something like that. I wake up to serve the Lord. I wake up to nourish my family so that they can serve the Lord. So there's a difference between grihastas and grihamedis. So we are grihastas. So grihastas are those whose life is centered around Krishna, where both the husband, the wife, and the children, all of them work together, keeping Krishna in the center. Okay, they work to please Krishna. Grihamedis also are husband, wife, children, but they work to gratify their own senses. So we have to try to be grihastas to serve the Lord. So Krishna tells that working in devotional service is more superior to renunciation. See, we cannot completely renounce. See, for example, there is in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, there is this verse that Nirbandham Krishna Sambandhe Yukta Vairagya Muchyate. Okay, you don't need to renounce everything. You can Yukta Vairagya. What is Yukta Vairagya? Have you heard? Anybody has heard Yukta Vairagya? Yes. These are the new ones. The anybody else? Yukta Vairagya? Yeah, you can tell.
It's eternal.
Okay. Now, actually, whatever you have, you engage it in the service of the Lord. See, for a sannyasi, there was a sannyasi. You give him money, right? He'll say, "No, I don't want to see money. It's burning my body." All that falls at whatever, right? But if you say Prabhupada or any of the Vaishnava acharyas, they will humbly accept that money and they'll say, "We don't need it. We will remain as sannyasis only, but we will engage this money in the service of the Lord." So, Yukta Vairagya, you're not renouncing everything. You accept everything, but you utilize it in the service of the Lord. You've seen ISKCON temples, how grand they are, how many beautiful paintings, best quality materials, okay? You cannot find a fault in them. So everything is engaged in the service of the Lord. Even prasadam, it's not like we will make, we can eat like that, whatever meager food. But for Krishna, when you offer bhoga, you will offer chappan bhoga. You will do 108 items and you offer to him. So whatever is best, we engage in the service of the Lord, okay? So Yukta Vairagya actually means that when one is not attached to anything, but at the same time he accepts everything in relation to Krishna, then he's situated above possessiveness. So that is the highest thing to do, Yukta Vairagya. You accept everything not for yourself, but you engage it in the service of the Lord. See, actually, have you heard of, no, 6 Goswamis? Yeah, Sanatana Goswami. So Sanatana these Goswamis were like that. Goswamis means what? Controlled the senses completely. They are not in possession of anything. They were very, very intelligent people. They had very good positions in the kingdom, okay, of the Nawab, okay. One was a financial corrector and one was a prime minister. Imagine what great positions. But they renounced that and still, see, there's a beautiful story that we'll be seeing about Madan Mohanji. So this Sanatan Goswami, one day what happened, he is walking in the forests of Vrindavan and he has this, see, obviously he's a sannyasi, he has to ask for alms. Madhukari. Madhukari means they go house to house, maybe 2 or 3 houses, and ask for alms, and then they maintain their body by taking those alms. That also they go house to house not for their own sense gratification. By stepping onto the house of people, they give Krishna consciousness. They chant the holy names of the Lord and they give their, Sukruti to those living entities so that they can move ahead in life. So like that, when he was moving, there was a beautiful boy who came to Sanatan Goswami and said his name was Madan Mohan. So he was very beautiful. He had a bluish face and all that, wearing yellow garments. He said, "I want to come to your house. Can you maintain me?" So he said, "I don't have anything to maintain myself. And you're telling you want to come to my house and I should maintain you? Please go away from here." So he goes off. Then what happens? So when he gets a dream. Sanatan Goswami gets a dream that there is a very humble Brahmana and there is a very beautiful deity. So this deity's name is Madan Mohan, and he was looking very, very attractive to the eyes. Kanta, it was attracting him like a magnet. So when Sanatan Goswami saw this in his dream, so this poor Brahmana was serving him very nicely, and Sanatan Goswami goes and asks that Brahmana in the dream, "Can you please give me this Madan Mohan deity?" But this Brahmana does not want to relinquish the deity. He doesn't want to give up the deity. So Sanatan Goswami comes back home. So this was a dream. Then he wakes up in the morning. So next day what happens is he walks in the forest and he goes to beg alms in the house of a poor Brahmana. And that poor Brahmana's name was Damodar Chaube. Okay. So this Chaube was like, his wife's name was Vallabhi. So both Damodar Chaube and Vallabhi took so nice care of Madan Mohanji. They had a Madan Mohan deity and they every time they used to do offering. Trisandhya they used to do offering, and very nicely they did the offering. So that at the same time, in one Madhyana, one afternoon, when Damodar Chaube was doing offering with his wife for Madan Mohan deity, what happens? Sanatan Goswami happens to go there. So after offering is done, they ring the bell and they open the altar. Food is still remaining. So Damodar Chaube is telling, "Very bad, Madan Mohan. Today you did not eat the food at all. I'm very angry with you. Why you didn't complete the food?" So Sanatan Goswami is saying how actually Goswamis are in a very different level. They follow rules, regulations, Pancharatrika, Arati, all the methods, okay, properly. So he was thinking that is the way to worship Krishna. But after seeing the way this Damodar Chaube was, actually this is like Vatsalya mood, no? It's the highest parental love, okay? How you chastise your child for not having food. Like that, he was feeling very good from inside, okay? He was thinking they know actually how to serve the Lord. So then he said, "I want to serve Madan Mohan. Can you give to me?" Like that, he was thinking it's like a sense of deja vu. You know what means? Already you felt that it has happened and it's happening again. So whatever he saw in the dream was happening again. So he said, "Can I have the deity?" So he says, how can I give you my deity? I will not give. So Sanatana Goswami comes back home. He wants to worship the deity, but he is not giving. What can I do? So he comes back home. Then what happens? The same night in Damodar Chaube's dream, okay, so, the Madan Mohan deity comes and tells that you give me to Sanatana Goswami and let him worship me. So see, this is the Lord's words, okay. Dreams are where the Lord communicates to his pure devotees. So the next day when he goes to beg for alms again, Damodar Chaube agrees and gives the Madan Mohan deity to Sanatana Goswami. So now how Sanatana Goswami is begging for himself, okay. So then how is he going to maintain Madan Mohan? You have to do proper boga for the lordships, right? So what happens? He takes Madan Mohanji and he tells, see, you came in my dream and you said you wanted to come to my house, and the other day also I know it's you only, you said come and maintain me and all that. I cannot maintain you, but still because you came in my dream, I'm taking you. I will be able to give you only 2 chapatis or 3 chapatis in a day. That too I don't have salt and all that. You should not ask me for anything else. How he used to make chapati, no? He used to take little flour, going from Madhukari house to house, collect flour, and Yamuna water is there, no? He used to mix that Yamuna water and place it on the coal and make chapatis, dry chapatis. And he used to offer that every day, no change in menu, same thing again and again to thing. So he actually, there was a hill, the name of the hill was Dwadasa Aditya Tila, okay. So there he made a small hut for Madan Mohanji and he kept him there, and he used to do this offering of things. So 2 days went, 3 days went, then Madan Mohanji got very irritated, same chapati, no salt, nothing. So he said, can you put little bit salt in the chapati? I'm feeling it very difficult to eat. So Sanatana Goswami said, see, I knew this. I told you I will not be able to serve you. I told you I will not be able to maintain you. Today you are asking salt. Tomorrow you will ask ghee. Day after you will ask sabji. When I go to beg, they will think that I am asking for all this to gratify my senses. They don't know that I am asking to serve you. You please go somewhere. He said, no, okay, I will not ask something. He said, if you want salt, you yourself make the arrangement. So Madan Mohanji, what he did, he actually, there came a boat, okay, you know Yamuna river is there, right? There was a boat, and in that boat there was a merchant, okay, and this merchant's name was Krishna Raj, okay. So this Krishna Raj was a very wealthy merchant, and he used to do transfer of goods from one place to, he came to deliver those goods to somewhere in Agra, okay. But what happened, see, river means water, only if water is there the boat can float, right? So at one point there was no water at all and there was a sandbar. So the boat went, sandbar means no water at all, fully sand only. So the boat got stuck into that sandbar and it couldn't move, and he had to deliver the goods by tomorrow. So and this happened right opposite the hut of Sanatana Goswami. So he starts waving his hands, help, I need to remove my boat from the sandbar. So Sanatana Goswami says, come up on top to this Dwadasha Ditya Tila. That means that place where Madan Mohanji is there. Saying Madan Mohanji is very, very powerful. You pray to him and immediately all your problems will get resolved. So this Krishna Raj, he prays with lot of faith, and immediately the water level starts rising up and the boat starts floating. So he says that, see, if I make a good profit of this, I will definitely come and do something for Madan Mohanji. So he goes, delivers the good, and he makes 10 times more profit of than what he was supposed to get. And with that, and imagine that was a salt boat. The boat had so much of salt in it. So he asks this Sanatana Goswami, what can I do for you? He says, I am a renunciant mendicant. I don't want anything, but my Madan Mohanji needs some salt for his chapati. See what he's asking. So he happily gives so many sacks of salt, which will, I mean, for the rest of the time, with salt he can offer chapati. Then he says, then this Sanatana Goswami tells that, can you please see how, what a small cottage sort of thing my Madan Mohanji is in. So can you build a nice temple, okay? And then he agrees and he funds for the, that is funds for the Madan Mohanji temple. So this Madan Mohanji temple is actually, Madan Mohanji deity is the Sambandha deity. He develops a relationship between us and Radha and Krishna. So after establishing that Madan Mohanji temple, after that all the other Radha Govindji temple, after that all was established. See, why I came to tell the story is, he's a renunciant, but still he went to ask for alms. It was not like when he came and said, what help you want? No, I don't want anything. He asked, but he asked for the Lord. He asked, use your money. You engage your money in the service of the Lord by building the temple of Radha Madan Mohanji. Okay, so this is the way how we engage all our activities, senses, resources. Nothing is ours. Everything is bestowed to us by Krishna. And it will be sensible and intelligent of us to use them back in serving the Lord. Otherwise, we are just thieves. Okay. and this life is beneficial to us only when we use everything in the service of the Lord. So with this, we will stop here.